So boys and girls, this is just a reminder that Mr. Heatrix and I have our summer camp. Some of you have signed up already. Some of you have said, no, it's not gonna work out. That is just fine. I just wanted to remind you about it because it has been filling up. And I'll have this probably at the art fair for you if your parents wanna pick one up. This flyer is to remind you about the art fair that is next Thursday. Now, that is coming up super fast. It's a little scary for me because I still need to set up all the artwork. But for you guys, it's just gonna be a matter of showing up, but you are also going to be in charge of your tour because each of you will be taking someone on a tour of the art fair. And you'll notice the art fair and World Wonder Showcase. This is the day, it's kind of Mr. and Mrs. Heatrix's day to let all of your family members know how smart you guys are and all the stuff that you've been learning in here, and it's always very, very impressive. Now, you can see on here that there's some pictures on here. There's a schedule. Boys and girls, you can look on here and find your class, and you'll see 2 times. The first time is when you're going to be starting, and you'll see that these sessions are 1 hour long. Now you'll be meeting your parents in the courtyard at the first time, the first column, and then from there, you'll be starting them on their tour. But a lot of times for parents to come to something like this, they need to know about it, and a lot of times they have to take off work. So it's important if you can let your parents make sure they know about it and see if they can come. But I'm telling you guys, anyone who loves you, grandpa and grandma, Cuban cousin, a big sister, big brother, you can invite as many people as you like, okay? Now, boys and girls, this year, it cannot be in the gym. The gym floor is being resurfaced. So I'm facing a whole new, oh my goodness, we're gonna have the art fair in Hub 1 and Hub 2 because there's not enough space otherwise. So I thought of all the art we did, I'm gonna separate it. So everything that was in your portfolio that you went through to decide what to put in the art fair, that's gonna be on the 2nd floor, kind of along the lines of how the art fairs looked in the past. The bottom one, if you can kind of tell what I have going on here, is sort of my idea for how it's gonna be a blacklight situation with the fish and the glowing and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's more the stuff we did at the beginning of the year will be in Hub 2, and then all of the coral reef stuff will be on the bottom. Now, it doesn't really matter for you. You're just gonna be doing one thing on one, and then you're gonna do one thing on another. We might find out we love it, and yeah, let's do it again in the hubs next year, or oh man, we're going back to the high school next year. We'll see. It'll be all of our opinion to discuss afterwards. So upstairs in Hub 2, if you can kind of imagine, I'm gonna have the blackboard set up, almost like making it like a room on the inside. And you'll come in and you see that red line kind of swirling around, that's you showing your parents stuff. Each of you are going to get a card on the day of the art fair. It will have your name on it and look about like that. It's gonna be about this big. And the way that the art fair works is that the whole day is designed so that you are the tour guide and you are the one getting to really focus the attention on yourself, which you deserve. But if this day is going to be about you, you need to have your act together and know what's going on. So how do I know that you have been successful on that day is by showing me this card at the end of the day. So let me show you how this works. So basically, upstairs, you're going to have the piece of art, or possibly 2, that you wrote a story about, okay? So when you're upstairs, you're gonna have your card, and your goal is going to be to get 3 stickers on this card. Now the stickers come from adults. They will have cards that look like this, that have these sticker fish on here. And if you tell them about your art, they will give you 1 sticker. Don't let them give you more just because you're adorable.
Yes.
And this is the way it works. So this is Luana's artwork. Now yours will have your name on it, but we're just pretending with Luana. So this is Luana's artwork. It's a color monster and it's called Cheerful. However, her title is Ice Cream?
Ice cream?
No, there's nothing about screaming. So, Luana has her card. She knows that I've told her that she has to tell 3 people about her artwork. Ugh. She looks around and she sees her mother. Easy first option. So she goes up to her mom and she says, "Hello, Mom. My name is Luana and I'm an artist in this show." Mom's gonna go, "I gave birth to you. I know your name." She's gonna go, "Play along." "Hi, Mom. My name is Luana and I'm an artist in this show. Would you like to see my art?" And Luana's mom is going to say yes, of course. Now, here, as a parent, this is what's going to happen. Your parents right away going to go, "Oh, honey, there's so much art around here. We better find Miss Heatrix, because I'll bet you, do you even know where?" At that point, you're going to be like, "Remember, this is my show. I know where it is." You're going to know where your art is because I will have taken you on a tour. Next week, when it's all set up, we're going to go through the whole thing. You're going to have the story for you to practice. You're going to know where your art is. The next question is always, do I have to keep showing everyone the same piece of artwork? No, you can show them other pieces of artwork. All that's fair game, okay? So Luana's going to say, "Mom, I know where my art is. Come with me." She's going to say, "Mom, this is my art. It's a color monster and it's cheerful, but the name is Ice Cream. Would you like to know why it's called Ice Cream?" Her mother's going to say yes. She's going to say, "Well, once upon a time, there was a young color monster who was blue. And every day when that blue color monster would say to its parent, 'Can I please have a bit of chocolate?' Their parents would say, 'You're going to rot your teeth out now.' The next day, 'May I please have a little bit of a sweet, maybe a piece of candy?' It'd say, 'You're going to rot your teeth out. No way.' At the birthday party, 'Mommy, can I have a little piece of cake?' 'No, you're going to rot your teeth out now.' One day, I came. I said, 'You know what, Mommy? I really, I've been so good. I've been eating so well. I would love to have a little ice cream.' And the mommy said, 'You know what?' Oh no, she has the bossy voice. 'You know what, honey? You've been so great. I think we shall.' And just like that, her whole body turned yellow and orange, and she became cheerful. The end. That's why it's called cheerful. Her kid is going to be amazing. She is going to peel off a fish sticker and stick it on her card. Luana has 1 done. How many more does she need? 2 more. Okay, so now she's looking around the room and she sees Mariana's dad. Now, she's known Mariana for a while. She has seen her dad before. She knows he's a nice guy because Mariana's a nice guy. Luana's like, woman, sorry. So Luana goes up to Mariana's dad. Now, this is different. This is like, woo! She's gonna say, "Hello, Mariana's dad. My name is Luana and I have a piece of art in the show. Would you like to see it?" And he will say, "I will only see the art of my dear Mariana."
Oh, that's rude.
He's never gonna say that. Come on. He's gonna say, "Of course I would love to see your art." Luana's gonna bring you over there. He's gonna say, "It's a color monster in the nature. Would you like to hear why it's called
Ice cream.
Ice cream?" Exactly. She's gonna say, "Oh, he was always blue. I rot your teeth out. Oh, she turned yellow. She's so happy." Wow. Unbelievable story. He is going to give Now, Luana has 1 more person to go. In my opinion, she looks across the room, and in my opinion, she sees an incredibly handsome man with the name Mr. Heatrix.
Whoa!
I'm the only one who gets to talk about how she's like, "This is easy." Luana goes over there, she goes, "Mr. Heatrix, my name is Luana." It's like, "Miss Luana, I've had you since kindergarten." And she's like, "Go with it." "My name is Luana, and I'm an artist in this show. Would you like to see my art?"
No.
And Mr. Heatrix will, of course, say yes, because he's the sweetest, most handsome, most wonderful man in the world, and I married him. But anyway, she's going to say, "This is my art. It's called
Ice cream.
So she's gonna that one. I'm gonna write your teeth out, and that's why it's called. She's cheerful now. And that's why he's gonna say, "Amazing job." He's gonna give her the third. At this point, Luana is done. She's done a great job. She's done what I've asked. She has to talk to 3 people. She did a good job. She spoke in a good voice. She said her whole story. Luana's done. She can go and she can look at other pieces of art. She can show other people the other pieces of art or whatever. But what usually happens is that by the 3rd time, you're like, I'm pretty good at this. I kind of like talking to people. People really genuinely seem to like my stuff. And in that case, you can keep walking around and telling more people about your art and getting more stickers and getting more stickers. You can get. Now, the only thing is, and I say this every year, it's usually not the parents, it's usually the grandparents. If they give you 7 stickers for telling them one story, you have to say, I must tell the truth. Please only give me 1 sticker. Because sometimes they give you more because maybe you asked, or because they're like, oh, you did such a good job. No, because it should be that if you have 17 stickers on your card, it's that you spoke to 17 people. Now, what happens if you do this? First of all, listen carefully. Every week when you guys come in here, and I have to talk to people about sitting in the square year after year, sometimes a teacher or a parent can be like, oh my goodness, are they ever gonna remember to brush their teeth? But when you sit, for me, or a parent, and you're watching you walking around to different people, showing them your art, speaking in a full voice, you have no idea how encouraging and so proud your teacher is, your parents are, and even just adults. I'm not kidding. People take pictures all the time at this event because they are so proud of you kids looking like professionals, which you can be. Next, you are going to have a proud feeling in your heart because you're going to know people like my art. This is my chance to kind of show off what I do, and people really liked it. Lastly, after the whole thing is over, I will give you cookies. Now listen, usually you get them as soon as you leave the art fair, but remember, we have to do 1 level and then another level. When you leave to go over to Mr. Heatrix, that's when you're gonna show your card, and if you have more than 3 stickers, you'll get some cookies for the very long and strenuous walk over to the nature center. Yes?
What if we get one like every kind of fish, one of every kind of fish on that card?
Well, that would be very exciting. The question also is, if I get 17 stickers, do I get 17 cookies? No.
Oh, come on.
Nice try. Now, I am serious about this. What happens? You go to the art fair. You start off great. You do 1 story. But now you're kind of goofing off and you're hiding behind the boards and now you're bumping tables and thinking it's kind of funny to swat at the fish. Goodness gracious, goodness gracious. You know, do you know how embarrassing and how disappointing it is for a parent to see all these kids making good choices and your kid is acting like that? Not only is it disappointing, but believe me, you're not going to have a good weekend, because when a parent sees that, it's horrifying. Next, you're not going to have a proud feeling in your heart. When you leave and everyone's so proud of what they did, you're going to go, I blew it. I had a chance for people to tell me, like, be really proud of me, and I was hiding behind boards? Like, what was that? Plus, there's no way I'm giving you any of my cookies.
That's the worst part.
Last about that.
People with like
Now, yes, question.
But what if like someone forgets to give you a sticker?
They won't, believe me, and you'll kindly remind them, I'm sure.
No,
They're gonna have these hot little, yeah. No, they won't forget. Now, remember, you will have more than 1 thing in the art fair. You guys are gonna have so much. You have these sewing projects. You're also gonna have your class quilt. Now, in addition to all this, I was really hoping that you would be able to teach your parents about coral reefs. What is something that you could teach your parents about corals just by looking at this photo. I'm going to have your teacher pause the camera for 30 seconds, and I want for you to whisper amongst each other what it is that you think you could teach. Okay, I have a feeling you guys were talking about some good stuff. Question that would just be so intimidating for a parent. Is this coral an animal or a plant? You could say a flower, a rock. Let them think a while. I have to say, even myself, I would have said it was a plant. You can then start to explain and show them how all those tiny little animals that live on the surface of that coral are polyps. And you can even go on to the next question, which would be, what do you think a coral polyp does all day? It's got its arms up there in the air. I'd love to watch you guys like doing your very best with your arms being tentacles and gathering up food down and how you can pull your tentacles inside. But to be able to explain that all of those are animals and that they are living.
Polyps look a little bit like jellyfish turned upside down. At night, they send out tentacles to catch little bits of drifting food.
Now, what about this? You can tell them that you made your own coral polyp, and don't forget that Ritz cracker down there on the bottom. Is it a hard coral or soft coral that would have been attaching itself to the bottom? If you said hard coral, you are exactly right. And that's why they continue to grow, because one will grow up on top of another.
Corals are related to jellyfish, but they only float in the open as tiny larvae. They then anchor themselves to rocks and hard ocean floors by building a skeleton out of calcium carbonate or limestone. These stone skeletons, incredibly, are what make up the structure of the reef.
Now, what about this slide? I'll even give you a hint of like, where do corals grow? We're going to pause the video again for 30 seconds. Whisper to each other what you could teach your family about. Okay, first of all, if you talked about the Coral City camera, bravo, that is exactly right. One kid said, I'd say, what does the X mean? That would be that right there on Dodge Island on the end where all the Carnival cruise ships come in, that's where the camera is. You could, if you know that your family knows where this highway is, you could say, yeah, you know how right when you go by the ships, that's where it is. And you could show them this too, how the blue cord comes in and provides electricity and also gives the signals back out so that we can see it on the camera. So these are not coral reefs. That the stuff that we're seeing, this is not down in the Bahamas. This is not in the Keys. This is right here in Miami. Now, right here, I'm hoping I was hearing a word out there that Mr. Heatrix taught you about it being the equator. That the equator that runs right through the center of the Earth, that you see all those red dots, that's where the coral reefs are. And if you want to think about those red dots being like a little playground, that's why all of these sea creatures love to go and collect over by the coral reefs. That's like their playground. That's why there are so many varieties of fish and animals that go there. Now, I've been surprised how many kids, we know that they glow in the dark, and that they glow and that they are fluorescent. But it's been surprising how many of you forgot why God made it that way. If any of you remember that it was that we talked about it being like a sunscreen, that it's something inside the coral to protect itself from the sun, you are exactly right. That word sunscreen is important. This is interesting too. What would you teach about this? If you said coral bleaching, yay, you're so right. And what I love about this picture is it shows us that those coral polyps are clear.
The body of a coral polyp is actually almost transparent. When a coral has a healthy amount of zooxanthellae, it's red, gold, or many colors. But when a coral gets stressed, mainly due to high temperatures, the coral expels the algae. Without the algae, the coral bleaches. It loses its color, and more importantly, its main source of food. It becomes weak and more vulnerable to things like disease. If the water cools, corals can recover, but too long without the algae, and they'll die. And all over the world, corals are dying. more and more often.
You can show them different corals that you might know just right on the Coral City camera. You know your brain coral. That's an easy one. You know your staghorn coral. Now, here's another one. This bright, bright orange. We haven't really, some classes learned about that. That's called a boring sponge. Not because it's boring. That would be rude. But boring means that it like drills itself. It bores down into the coral. So that's what's going on there. This purple one is so gorgeous. That's this one here. It's basically a sea rod. And this is a soft coral. You'll see them blowing around in the water. And it's called a candelabra because a fancy candlestick will be called a candelabra. So if you kind of imagine this like a candlestick that has a whole bunch of branches on it, that's what that is. And then, of course, you better know your staghorn coral. And you can even ask, Mom and Dad, what do those little white tips mean on the end of the staghorn? Well, that's where there's new growth. So when we see the white tips like that, that doesn't mean it's bleaching. That means it's growth. Boys and girls, we just went through a whole bunch about how the art fair is going to work, how it's going to get set up, and even just some reminders of things that you could teach your family. What I'm going to have you do now is what these kids are doing here. I'm going to have a video of fish, and this will just be sort of fun, where you're going to be taking buttons, and if you see a fish go by that you can cover up that fish using a button. We're not going to be stealing buttons from anyone. We're not going to be fighting. But this will just be a fun way for you to relax just a bit and to really test your knowledge of the fish that we've come to know and to love, and be, once again, getting ready for next week. Have fun.